Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to today's video, and in today's video diving back into another top 5 video, and in today's video we're going to be going over the top 5 fraggers in Rainbow Six Siege Operation Steel Wave. So in this video we're going to go over all of my personal opinions of the top 5 fraggers in this game. If you do happen to agree or disagree, make sure to let me know down below, because that's hopefully what I'm going to be informing you guys with this episode. So just trying helping you out. If you do agree, let me know. If you do disagree, let me know. Make sure to voice your opinions in the comments, because some people may agree with you. Then we can kind of pass on like the little effects of that, I guess, and hopefully we can just bring together a good positive outcome, and we can find out all of our best operators. But this video obviously is going to outline my opinions, and without further ado, quickly before we start, make sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoy it, make sure to drop a sub if you did enjoy the videos and are interested in future videos, and make sure to check out my Twitch, links in the description. All of those things are completely optional, but I'd appreciate it a lot if you did do them. Obviously, up to you, and that's enough of me talking. Let's quickly dive in to the top 5 fraggers in Rainbow Six Siege. So coming in at number 5 on this list, I'm going to put Sledge. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be widely agreed or not, but in my opinion, Sledge does have a lot of a support role to play when he is on the team, but I definitely believe he also brings a lot of fragging capabilities to the team, which puts him in the top fragging spots as well. So, in my opinion, his weapons are the main thing that make him a efficient fragger. His gadget isn't really a fragging gadget whatsoever, but it can be used in that sense if you think about it, because Ash's gadget is just a breaching round, his gadget is a breaching hammer. So, in all honesty, his gadget can be used as a frag, but obviously you should focus on support first. But the way Sledge plays support does kind of lead to fragging, which I just think he definitely belongs in this spot, and there's no problem with him being here, in my opinion. So, the L85A2 has 47 damage on 670 rounds per minute. This is an absolutely insane weapon in my opinion. It does a lot of damage, it does a crazy amount of just everything, and it is a really good efficient weapon to bring on the offensive side, and that's the main reason I feel like he is such a good fragger, or in a good fragging sense player. Along with this, he does have access to the M590A1 shotgun, which does do 48 damage on kind of it has a little slow recall. I'm probably not going to talk about shotguns in this video. I'm going to focus on the good fragging capabilities that these operators bring. And with that said, the L85A2 is definitely the better option. The SMG-11 is a great alternative you can bring as the machine pistol as well, which does 35 damage on 1,270 rounds per minute fire rate. This thing does fire incredibly fast, but to make up for this, it is a really high damaging weapon, and one of the best secondaries you can bring in this game in my opinion, which just closes out more of the whole fragging factor that Sledge brings to the offensive side. And to finalize out his loadout, it does also have access to frag grenades, which are also great tools that you can use to get kills and frag on the offensive side. Just all around, his loadout kind of does combine greatly to be a fragging operator's loadout. And along with this, he has the breaching hammer, which does help you in terms of pushing, getting through soft walls, and breaching above to get the kills and try and play the defense and move them around. So I just think all around, Sledge definitely does have support roles. Overall, he's a flex operator, but he is still, in my opinion, a top 5 fragger. Coming in at number 4, we do have Twitch. Now, Twitch, again, is another person I believe has access to these support capabilities with her shock drone, but honestly, the loadout that she brings to the offensive side, mainly being the F2, just makes her a complete, just deadly weapon on the offensive side, mainly just because of this one weapon. The F2 is hands down one of the best weapons in the game, in my opinion, coming through at 37 damage on 980 rounds per minute. So its damage isn't the highest you'll find in this game, but its fire rate is really consistent, and it does have a bit of recoil on it. There is definitely no doubt about that. Most people will agree Twitch's gun is not the easiest thing to control, but if you do put practice and time into Twitch's gun, and if you can nail that recoil down, anything is possible in this game. If you do find yourself complaining about Twitch's recoil, you just really need to put the practice in and get that gun sorted out. And if you can sort this gun out, this thing is an absolute weapon to bring on the offensive side. It just mows through everyone. It's got a really good fire rate, nearly 1,000 fire rate, which is great for an assault rifle. And along with this, it brings 37 damage to the team as well. And it's just all around a really great weapon. This personally is definitely one of my favorite weapons in the game. I don't really use it too much anymore because I've kind of shifted to someone else as a main operator that I've been using lately, but still is just a really great operator. And along with this, she does have access to the 417 marksman rifle if you're into using them, with 69 damage on a trigger finger fire rate with 20 bullets in the magazine, and the SG CQB, which is a shotgun which has 53 damage on a trigger finger fire rate, but it does have a little pump back, so that statement's pretty wrong actually. But anyway, I'd suggest using the F2, especially if you're you're playing these operators for fragging roles. Also along with this, she has access to the P9 and the LFP. The LFP coming in on 78 damage on a trigger finger fire rate, but the problem is it only has 6 bullets in the magazine because it obviously is a revolver. The P9 being the kind of more consistent alternative with 45 damage a shot, which is really all you need for a pistol, along with the 16 bullet magazine, which is more of a normal size. Just a good all-around weapon to use as well. But yeah, and along with this, she does have access to the Twitch drone, which is kind of a support operator-sided thing, but with the recent nerfs that Twitch has been suffering over and over and over again, her drone really isn't that useful anymore. It can be useful for just getting rid of a gadget, but it can only get rid of 3 gadgets, I think, and then you have to sit there for like a minute and wait for your thing to recharge, so... Yeah, her drone can be useful, and you should definitely utilize the drone if you're playing Twitch. But once that drone's over, just use it to drone you in and frag. Like, that's the way I believe you should play Twitch. Focus on that support role first, get rid of the bandits, get rid of the Jaegers, clear out all the gadgets on site that you need to get rid of with your Twitch drones, and then just use them individually to help you drone in and push and frag. Utilize that F2, and just make complete use of Twitch's fragging capabilities. But all around, this is another great fragger in my opinion, and 100% believe she deserves to be on this list. Coming in at number 4 is good old Twitch. Now, coming in at number 3, these top 3 are definitely the top 3 evident, obvious fraggers, in my opinion. I 100% believe all these guys deserve to be here. Most of them have fragging capability weapons that are all just out of this world, and 2 of them have gadgets supporting just complete fragging as well. I wouldn't really say they're useful in any other way except for fragging. But before we dive into those 2, let's dive into number 3, which is going to be IQ. Yes, IQ may not be a fragger for some of you. She does have quite a support-based gadget, there is no doubt about that. But in all honesty, IQ is just completely inferior. If you're playing IQ and as a support player, you should only be doing that if Thatcher is banned. Thatcher is superior in 10 times more ways, in my opinion, and Thatcher is the person you should be bringing if you're trying to get anti-gadgets down. Obviously, IQ does have a little bit of benefits and perks to her, like she can track vigils and pulses, etc. But majority of the time, when you have this scanner out, you're going to have your pistol in hand, and obviously pistols aren't horrible, but they're probably not going to outgun someone with an SMG or an assault rifle just gunning you down. So that is what my personal opinion. So the electronics detector's main use, I'd say, is to get rid of exterior stuff like Valkyrie cams, or just simple stuff like nitro cells, cap can traps, all that. I believe for main derogative focus of just straight sight pushing, I'd 100% recommend you bring Thatcher to get rid of those bandits, those Jaegers, but you can use IQ for this as well, and that is the support side of her operator. But the fragging side that she brings is just too unmissable to forget, and just makes her stand out amongst all other operators in sense of a fragging operator. She has access to the AUG A2. This is the one operator I'm actually going to be serious about all of their weapons, because every single one of her weapons in her primary arsenal are great weapons to use as fragging. Obviously, I have my recommendations. My personal preference is the G8. But the AUG, the Commando, and the G8 are all great weapons as well, so let's quickly dive into their stats. The AUG brings 35 damage and 720 rounds per minute to the team. The Commando brings 48 damage on 690 rounds per minute to the team. So obviously you can see that the AUG has more fire rate over the Commando, but has less damage, where the Commando has much more damage and a slightly dropped fire rate. You can obviously tell that the Commando is the better option, but in my opinion it's the G8, 37 damage on 850 rounds per minute. So it does have a lower damage compared to the Commando. The Commando is 100% the hardest hitting weapon, if that is what you like to pick. But the G8 has a good fire rate, and it's not hard to control with the fire rate, and it's just a great all-around weapon in my opinion. It also has 50 bullets in its magazine, which makes it very helpful as well if you get into multiple kind of ongoing gunfights. This can really help you out compared to the AUG's 30 and the Commando's 30. But still, all around, these are all great weapons, and I'm not going to suggest any of them because really they are all great, and you can just basically bring any one. My personal preference is the G8, but just bring whichever weapon you feel most comfortable with if you are considering playing IQ as a fragging role. And then in her secondary, she has the P12, which is a great secondary pistol which does 44 damage on a trigger finger fire rate with 15 bullets in the mag. It is her only secondary, so I can't really suggest anything there. And her gadget, she has a breach charge and a claymore. Either of these work. Breach charge is obviously going to be more fragging based, and a claymore can be helpful for fragging if you want to cover runouts, etc. But breach charges probably will help you out in this instance, because she is not like Ash, Zofia, etc., who have access to breaching charges in their gadget. But with that said, 100% stand by decision that IQ deserves to be in this spot. Hope you guys agree, and let's dive into number 2. Now coming in at number 2, this is completely identical to the last top 5 fraggers video I made a while ago. It's definitely a bit out of date these days. But in number 2 we have Ash. Ash is 100% a top fragger in this game. As I'm sure all of you guys know, in my opinion she's not number 1, but I know a lot of you do have her at number 1. That's completely fair. Nothing wrong with that. But in my opinion she just lacks a little bit of inferiority compared to someone else, which we'll dive to obviously in a second. But she brings to the offensive type the breaching round gadget, which is a gadget that can open 2 soft walls. It's really not the best gadget you can think of on hand, but it is just really good for pushing and quick taking, quick sight taking, all that. And what she does kind of lack in her gadget, she makes up for in her weapons. But in all honesty, the gadget isn't completely used to it. As I said, it can be very useful for rushing, which is obviously the role of Ash. She is the number 1 entry fragger in my opinion, but this is just fraggers in general in terms of weapons and gadgets. Entry fragging 100% is Ash because she has that 3 speed. She has everything you basically want for someone who just sends it into sight. She doesn't really have an important gadget either, but obviously when you're an entry fragger you need to make sure you get those kills and don't just play an entry fragger because it's fun and just die straight off the rip and then blame everyone else. So diving into her weapon, she has access to the R4C, which does 39 damage on 860 rounds per minute, and diving into the G3, it does 38 damage on 780 rounds per minute. So before we even say anything, the G3's only advantage here is that it has an ACOG. The R4C does more damage and has a higher fire rate. 100% recommend you bring the R4C, even though it does lack an ACOG. It is a really great weapon to bring on the offensive side. Basically 0 recoil. It takes very little practice to get its recoil down pat. It just has great consistency, and it's a really good weapon to bring on the attacking side. There's a reason Ash gets picked so much. The G3's alternative and only bonus is that it does have access to an ACOG, and if you really do need an ACOG to play, I do understand that people do need ACOGs to play, then the G3 is your go-to weapon, but I'd still 100% recommend the R4C. And in terms of her secondaries, it is another situation where, as you can tell, the 5.7 USG, which is one of her pistols, does 42 damage, and the M45 Musok does 58 damage. So obviously this one, the M45, is way better, and the way they differentiate here is that 5.7 has 20 bullets in its magazine, the M45 has 7. So if you feel like you're going to potato a bit, bring the 5.7. If you feel like you want to hit hard, strong, and you can hit your shots, the M45 is the way to go. Obviously, if you're playing a fragging role of Ash, which is what I'm assuming you guys are doing, because if you play Ash as support, I really need to question your sanity. But yeah, most people play Ash as a fragger. Most people go pretty insane when they play Ash, to be honest. But flashbangs are 100% going to help you out in these situations. They're definitely the fragger's go-to option, and they will help you guys out a lot. I'd 100% recommend the flashbangs. Breach charges can help a lot, but that's basically what a gadget does, so there's really no point in bringing them unless you plan to just open a lot of soft walls, which is fair. If you go above, etc., that is fair, but I'd 100% recommend the flashbangs for a fragging role, and that's why I believe Ash deserves number 2. So coming in at number 1, this has not changed in my opinion, and it probably is a little bit of a biased opinion because I play Zofia a lot, but it's Zofia. So Zofia is my number 1 fragger in my opinion just because of the sheer ability that she has and the sheer guns she has. So quickly starting off with the guns. The gun she has access to is the M762 assault rifle, 45 damage, which is incredibly high already, on 730 rounds per minute. This thing is an absolute weapon. This thing is just completely unstoppable. I'm kind of fanboying a bit over here, but yeah, Zofia's gun is just absolutely a laser. I'd 100% recommend you bring this. The LMGE is a solid alternative. 41 damage on 720 rounds per minute. So really, when you think about it, the LMGE is really not much different to the M762. I've never actually looked at these stats, I don't think, but damn. The LMGE is a solid weapon, and on an alternative, it has 150 bullets in its magazine. So, LMGE is a great alternative. Obviously, I'd recommend bringing the M762, but some people do like the LMGE. I have no problems with that. But the LMGE's recoil is a little bit all over the place. It's definitely not as easy to control as the M762, which is another thing I forgot to mention. The M762 basically has no recoil as well, so it's just completely easy to control, and it's just a great weapon all around. In terms of a secondary, she has access to the RG15, which does 38 damage on a trigger finger fire rate with 15 bullets in the capacity. This is a great all-round weapon, and along with this, it does have a sight on it, which not many pistols have in this game, which can really help you out if you really need a little bit more range when you switch to that pistol. Her gadgets aren't really the best for fragging, but the breach charge can help you out with pushing, but obviously that's what her gadget does, which we'll get into in a second. And the claymore can help with just flanks and stuff. I personally like to run the claymore, but breach charges will work as well. And to finally sum up Zofia, we have her gadget, the, what's it called again? The KS-79 Lifeline, which is basically Ash's gadget, but just chuck 2 stun grenades on top of it. This does the exact same thing as Ash's gadget. It has access to 2 breaching rounds. They are obviously not as big, but that doesn't really matter. You can still get through the wall, which is the main thing you want to do with a breaching rage. It destroys everything. It can get through everything that an Ash charge would. And along with this, you press up on your D-pad or whatever keybind it is on your computer, and it switches over to 2 stun grenades, which you can use to stun out an enemy and frag them out. What more could you ask for? Zofia 100% number 1 in my opinion, and that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys do enjoy. I know I do talk a bit in these videos, so let me know if you feel like I'm making them a bit too long, and I'll try and cut down on the information, but I just try to make them as informative as possible for you guys to enjoy. But with that said, I'm going to wrap up this outro quickly, Make sure to leave a like, make sure to drop a sub, make sure to check out my Twitch. Once again, I said all this at the start, and if you're still here, hopefully you enjoyed me enough to maybe do a few of those things. Completely up to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Let me know down below if you disagreed or agreed. And with that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.